The next big issue is interchangeability. Now, as you know, in Europe, interchangeability is used more as a practice of medicine concept, switching between the biosimilar and its reference under the authority of the given prescriber. And in Europe, as a central regulatory decision, there is no designation by EMA as to whether a product is interchangeable or not. Now, the regulators have published in their independent capacity that they consider every biosimilar they've approved as already interchangeable with its reference. Meanwhile, FDA has said, as a prescribing decision, FDA agrees with that same concept, that every product they've approved as a biosimilar can be switched by a physician for its reference. But in the US, as a matter of law, the so-called interchangeability designation is to allow the pharmacist to be able to switch, subject to state law, but in the manner of a generic that's therapeutically equivalent, a biosimilar for its reference based on their own judgment, maybe financial, as to what's beneficial to the patient. So we have a difference between Europe and the US. But it's also led to this confounded situation, going back again to the citizen petition, that many physicians are apparently waiting on the FDA designation in order to themselves feel comfortable with switching between a biosimilar and its reference. So if I can ask the question of, do you think this is a pervasive problem even for those biosimilars biologics that are both prescribed and administered by the physician? Is there going to be a reluctance to switch patients that are currently being prescribed the reference to the biosimilar? And then, Julie, I'll turn to you on the impact we think that has economically for the future of biosimilars.
So as a prescribing physician, I'm not terribly concerned about interchangeability once FDA has approved the drug. The challenge would be, one is, it's, in all honesty, we need to let patients know that we are going to switch them over to a different drug with established efficacy, safety, and all the profile that exists. The problem may become more confounded because of, in the US, again, healthcare system is different than Europe. So in hospital system, a lot of time, it's a pharmacy director who makes the decision about going for a contracting piece. So if a hospital has contracted with a manufacturer to use only one class of drug, then clearly, everybody automatically switches over. So interchangeability does not even remain as a question. For our practice, for example, being an oncology care model, we have an obligation and partnership with the CMMI to look into less expensive, equally effective, safe alternative to what we can do. So we didn't have issue switching our patients into biosimilar GCSF. So there may be some difference when it comes to the pharmacy benefit managers, how they administer the drug, if they create a steps therapy approach between the different class. So this is an issue that probably, again, would have to resolve by joint efforts from the manufacturers, from the FDA, as well as from the, again, I think the physician community, which includes the GPOs and everyone else, to adapt the fact that we have a less expensive, equally effective, safe alternative approved by FDA available. Can we run with this and help part
So
with
what
our
I'm
price?
hearing from you is that as a physician, you don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem.
Operationally, there's still some significant challenges. Julie, can you address how
That
this impacts the
misinformation.
prospects for biosimilars commercially in the United States?
I will address the misinformation, and I think that's and I think that's really important because yes, thank you that the physicians, for stating the physicians don't require interchangeability, and what we're seeing in the market impacting the marketplace is that we have seen payers and purchasers and some stakeholders say that they don't want the biosimilar, they cannot cover the biosimilar or provide access to the biosimilar until it is interchangeable. And that misinformation, the FDA is another piece where the FDA needs to clarify and clarify that, you know, look, as of today, there's 7 biosimilars in the marketplace in the US. None of them are interchangeable. We don't have the interchangeable guidance yet to develop an interchangeable biosimilar, yet prescribers can prescribe biosimilars. And they should be. Payers and insurers can provide access to biosimilars and cover them without the biosimilar being interchangeable. So if folks are waiting for interchangeability before they cover or prescribe a biosimilar, we're going to continue to see low market uptake. So it's a key piece to correct that misinformation. We need these stakeholders, these insurers, the physicians to prescribe these products.
And I think part of the misinformation or misunderstanding is that somehow there is a belief that an interchangeable biosimilar is a better or higher quality biosimilar than a non-interchangeable biosimilar, that somehow it's a better product. And when in fact, a designation of interchangeability relies not on a better product, but on additional data and an additional analyses. It's the same product. And so there is some, we've heard that some stakeholders are waiting, whether it be physicians or others, for an interchangeable product because they believe it's just a better biologic, and that is not true. And I think that's part of the misconception, misperception, misinformation.
We need to limit interchangeability to what it is. It's a pharmacy substitution enabler. Yes. So that a pharmacist can interchange and substitute without calling a physician. So
even though in the US it's a unique additional opportunity, it's now being used to prejudice the mere biosimilar, that in Europe they don't have the designation at all.